I didn't wake up peacefully that morning in late August. I jolted awake, heart pounding, skin clammy, breathing sharp and uneven, because something felt wrong. Not just wrong, off, like the air itself had been tampered with. A faint metallic scent lingered around me, bitter and sharp, mixed with something familiar and syrupy. I sat up slowly, still dizzy, as if my head were full of cotton. My pillowcase felt strangely cool against my cheek. My fingers brushed something rough near my collarbone, and a tremor rippled through me. My hair. My long, waist-length, honey-blonde hair. Except now it wasn't. I stumbled toward the mirror on my closet door, gripping the bedpost to stay upright. The reflection staring back at me looked like a stranger, a broken stranger. My hair, my beautiful hair that I had spent nearly 8 years growing, hung in uneven, jagged clumps. Some pieces barely grazed my chin, others stuck out at cruel angles. A few sections were nearly bald where scissors had hacked too close. No. My voice cracked. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't an accident. Someone had butchered me. My eyes darted around the room for clues. That's when I saw it, a pair of floral-handled craft scissors sitting neatly on my dresser. They were my mother's scissors, the same pair she used for everything from gift wrapping to sewing to family emergencies. Under them was a folded piece of lavender stationery. My stomach twisted as I picked it up with trembling hands. "Sweetheart, try not to be dramatic. It's Naomi's wedding week. Please don't try to outshine your sister, Mom." Outshine. Cut my hair so I wouldn't outshine Naomi? A surge of nausea climbed up my throat. I pressed my tongue against my teeth, trying to fight off a wave of dizziness. The room swayed again, not with panic this time, but with the sluggish, syrupy haze left over from the night before. A memory flickered. Last night, my mother handing me a steaming mug of mint tea. Her soft, coaxing voice, "Drink up, Mia. You need rest for the weekend." The way she kept pushing me to finish it. The unusually sweet aftertaste, the heaviness that hit me almost instantly afterward. I had thought I was just exhausted, but now I knew better. She drugged me. She drugged me to cut off my hair. I leaned against the dresser, knuckles turning white around the note. An awful mixture of rage and heartbreak swelled inside me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to collapse. Instead, my vision blurred with tears I refused to let fall. The woman who gave birth to me had drugged me so her perfect daughter wouldn't feel overshadowed at her lakefront wedding in tiny, polished Crestwood Valley. I couldn't breathe. I grabbed my phone and backpack and ran, literally ran, out of my house barefoot. I didn't stop until I reached the stairwell of the apartment building 2 streets away, where my roommate and best friend Becca lived. I banged on her door, shaking. She opened it in pajama shorts, holding a half-eaten bowl of noodles. She blinked at me once, then her jaw dropped. What happened to your MIA? Who did this?" I burst into tears, ugly tears, the kind where your chest caves in and your words trip over each other. Becca didn't ask me to calm down. She didn't tell me to slow down. She wrapped me in her arms and let me sob until my throat burned and my body ached. When I finally managed to breathe, she gently guided me to the sofa. I told her everything, the tea, the scissors, the note, the humiliation, the betrayal. She listened without interrupting once, which is probably the hardest thing anyone could ask of her, because Becca never shut up, not unless something truly shattered her. When I finished, she put her hands on my shoulders and leaned in. "Mia," she said quietly but sharply, "you are not hiding. You are not skipping that wedding. You are not letting them pretend this didn't happen." "I can't show up like this," I whispered. "I look like I lost a fight with a weed trimmer." Clarissa touched his arm. "Marcus, don't let him—" He shook her off. "I didn't steal it. I used it for the family," Marcus said sharply. "We needed a new car, a bigger house. Your granddaughter contributed nothing." "Nothing?" Kira burst. "I worked 3 jobs at one point. I paid your utility bills when you forgot. I bought groceries for the kids when you 2 were on vacation." Marcus shot her a venomous look. "That's enough." But Gerald wasn't listening to him anymore. He was staring at Kira, heartbreak softening his features. You've been living in a basement all this time? She nodded, tears finally filling her eyes. I didn't want to bother you. I thought maybe it was normal. Maybe I deserved it. Gerald's voice trembled. Oh, sweetheart, you deserved better than anything they ever gave you. Marcus snapped. Dad, this is getting ridiculous. You're blowing things out of… Gerald raised a hand. Marcus went silent. I'm going to the bank tomorrow, Gerald declared. I'm getting every record of that transfer, and then… Marcus… The look he gave his son was pure disappointment. You and I are going to have a long, overdue conversation. He turned to Kira. You'll stay with me until we get this sorted out. Kira blinked. What? You're not going back to that basement. Marcus barked. Dad, don't be absurd. This discussion is over, Gerald said coldly. Sit down. Marcus sat. Kira couldn't breathe. She wasn't sure if she wanted to cry or collapse into her grandfather's arms, but one thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. The next morning, Gerald showed up at Kira's basement before she even finished stuffing her clothes into a bag. The old man took one look inside and muttered, This should be illegal. The walls were sweating moisture. The single outlet sparked when she unplugged her phone charger. Her mattress sagged like a dying animal. You lived here? He whispered. She shrugged, hugging her hoodie around herself. There wasn't anywhere else. Gerald's anger simmered like a pot about to boil over. Let's go, he said. At the bank, things escalated quickly. Gerald asked for statements. The teller retrieved files. The manager came out, pale. The truth unfolded like a slow, horrifying confession. The $85,000 was wired into Marcus's personal account, not Kira's, not a real estate account, not a trust, personal, then withdrawals, massive ones, car dealerships, luxury furniture stores, a week-long retreat at a coastal resort. Every dollar gone. When Gerald saw the last page, his face went gray. Kira whispered, Grandpa, you don't have to. I do, he said quietly. I should have done it years ago. They drove straight to Marcus and Clarissa's house, an oversized modern home on the edge of the city, paid for with debts and lies. Marcus opened the door, already annoyed. Dad, I told you… Gerald shoved the papers into his chest. You stole from your own daughter. Marcus stiffened. I didn't steal. I used the money responsibly. Responsible? Gerald's voice thundered. You left her to rot in a basement while you bought a boat. That boat was for the family. Kira blinked. What family? I was never invited. Marcus shot her a venom-filled glare. You were always ungrateful. Gerald stepped between them. Enough. Clarissa appeared behind Marcus, arms crossed. This is unnecessary drama, so he used the money. It all went toward maintaining a stable home for the children. Kira whispered, What about me? Clarissa didn't even look at her. You were 19, Kira. You should have learned to stand on your own. Gerald's shoulders shook. She was a child. Marcus scoffed. She is weak, always has been. If she really wanted a better place, she could have earned it. Instead, she's whining, waiting for handouts. Gerald slapped him. It wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It was heartbreak in motion. Marcus staggered back, shock freezing him in place. Gerald spoke softly, but the softness was what made it terrifying. I am revoking your access to our family trust. You will repay every dollar you stole, and you will never, ever make decisions regarding Kira again. Clarissa gasped. You can't do that. I just did. Kira's father glared at her like she had ruined his life, like she was the problem. This is your fault, he hissed. Gerald stepped closer. If you speak to her like that again, I will take legal action. Do you understand? Marcus looked away. Gerald turned to Kira. Let's go home, Kira whispered. Which home? He put an arm around her. Yours. Gerald's house was warm, filled with soft light and books and the faint smell of cedar wood. He gave her the guest room upstairs, sunlit, spacious, clean. Kira sat on the bed, running her fingers over the comforter. She felt like she was trespassing. Grandpa, she whispered, are you sure about this? Gerald sat beside her. I should have protected you sooner. That's my failure, not yours. She shook her head. It wasn't your fault. It was, he said quietly. I believed Marcus when he said you were doing fine. I believed him because he's my son. I didn't want to think he was capable of this. Kira leaned on his shoulder. It felt like the first real comfort she'd had in years. What now? She asked. Now, Gerald said. We build your life, the way it should have been. Gerald convinced her to take a week off from her job at the printing shop. She spent the first 2 days sleeping more than she remembered being able to. On the third day, Gerald knocked on her door holding a leather notebook. What's this? Kira asked. He smiled. A new beginning. Inside the notebook were blank pages waiting to be filled, but what mattered was the small envelope tucked between them. What's this? She repeated, puzzled. A recommendation letter, Gerald said. For Solace and Ember Architects. You always loved design. You sketched floor plans on napkins when you were 10. She frowned. Grandpa, that was just a hobby. No, he said gently. It was your passion, and it's time to chase it. Kira felt tears gather again. I can't afford school. I'll take care of it. I don't want to burden you. You are not a burden, he said firmly. You never were. She stared at the letter, hands trembling. Try, he whispered. That's all I ask. It took a week for Kira to gather the courage to send her application. Another week passed before the firm called her in for an interview. She wore a simple navy dress her grandfather had bought her, feeling like an imposter walking into the massive studio where architects moved around like orchestrated chaos. The manager, a woman named Rhea Voss, reviewed Kira's sketches. You have raw talent, she said, but no formal training. Kira nodded. I know I'm applying for the apprenticeship program. I want to learn everything. Rhea closed the folder. One question, Kira. Where did you learn perspective balancing? Kira hesitated. In a basement. I didn't have space to draw properly, so I practiced on the back of cardboard boxes. Rhea stared at her for a long moment, then she smiled. Welcome to Solace and Ember. Kira nearly cried right there. The months that followed were the most transformative of her life. She learned computer modeling, assisted on minor projects, even stayed late sketching designs the senior architects later praised. Gerald supported her every step, cheering her successes and helping her through failures. Marcus attempted to regain access to family funds twice. Gerald shut him down both times. Clarissa spread rumors about Kira. They fizzled quickly. Kira didn't care anymore. For the first time, she was building something that was hers, something she deserved. Kira Langford became known at Solace and Ember Architects for two things: her work ethic and her quiet brilliance. She didn't talk much during meetings, not at first, but her sketches said everything she couldn't. She had an uncanny ability to capture light, depth, and warmth in her designs, something most apprentices struggled with for years. One evening, as she was packing up her things, her manager, Rhea Voss, tapped the edge of Kira's desk. You're presenting your concept tomorrow. Kira nearly dropped her pencil. My... what? Rhea smiled at her confusion. Your concept for the community center remodel. It's good. The team needs to see it. I'm not ready. Yes, you are, Rhea said confidently. You're more than ready. Kira barely slept that night, but when she stood in the glass conference room the next morning and projected her design, gentle lighting, wide communal spaces, and earth-toned interiors, something inside her shifted. She wasn't the girl in the basement anymore. She was someone with a voice, and people listened. Rhea leaned toward her after the presentation. Told you. Kira blushed. Thank you. Over the next year, Kira's growth became impossible to ignore. She was entrusted with bigger projects, renovations, small residential designs, and later, entire layout proposals. She still doubted herself sometimes, especially when she compared her resume to everyone else's polished degrees. But Gerald never let her fall into that doubt for long. Every evening she came home exhausted, he greeted her the same way. How was my brilliant granddaughter today? And every time, she smiled a little more confidently. While Kira blossomed, Marcus Langford's world began to unravel. Gerald's decision to cut him out of the family trust had hit harder than he'd expected. Instead of adjusting his lifestyle, Marcus kept spending as if nothing had changed. Private school fees, car leases, lavish vacations. Soon the facade cracked, creditors called, bills piled up. He refinanced the same house twice. Even Clarissa began panicking, selling jewelry and cutting non-essential expenses, though she defined essentials as designer handbags and salon appointments. What Marcus didn't know was that Gerald monitored everything, not to help, but to prepare. One afternoon, Gerald received a notice that Marcus had attempted to access Kira's old basement address, hoping to repossess the furniture she left behind. Gerald didn't hesitate. He contacted his attorney. He prepared every document. He waited. It came sooner than expected. One crisp morning in early winter, Gerald and Kira returned home from the grocery store to find Marcus standing on the driveway, disheveled, desperate. "Dad," Marcus said breathlessly, "we need to talk, please."